Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with Shane. And today we have a video going into I guess we're going to explain the real reason, or I guess the long-term reason why Lahaina was burned, and give you guys some tips on how to identify when a smart city or these smart developments are being either spoken about or written about, so you can have a way to look for these developments in your area. And then Shane's going to go into the bigger picture and kind of connect the dots and give you all an idea of what the ultimate goal of these plans are. Before we get started, I do want to show you all the Sound the Alarm book that was just released. And this is the hardcover. So that's the only version that I have here. And you can get the hardcover. You can get all the hardcovers only on Amazon, but the paperback and the electronic version, as well as the bundle where you can get the electronic version for a little less, is on our site, themauibook.com. We'll put a link below. And if you're just going to get the electronic version, it's a little cheaper on our site, and Amazon doesn't take a cut. So we would really appreciate it if you could use the site. Also, if you have not subscribed yet, please do so before you leave, and like, comment, and share this video so we can let as many people know what these plans are. So with that, let me give you guys some buzzwords that I'll start out with. The list that Joanne Romanello's list of, she put up 10 buzzwords. I'll let you read them here. Something that Shane pointed out is 3 of those words are diversity, equity, and inclusivity, or DEI. We know that as a DEI hire. Also innovative, collaboration, impact. And I have a couple that I've been noticing since reporting on Lahaina. One of them is the transit corridor. Also, they use cultural corridor to describe these redevelopment plans. Resilience comes up quite a lot. Also, complete streets or complete cities, the word complete before another word. And often they use the word smart, smart meter, smart city, to give off the impression that this is a good thing, when in reality, it's often not a good thing. Also, 15-minute cities. I think a lot of people are familiar with that, but it tends not to be used as much more recently, we've noticed. And so now we're gonna transition into kind of the bigger picture, or like the macro way of looking at this, like to kind of put everything together, put everything into perspective, and connect the dots. And this is something I'm just kind of recently been able to do. And this takes time. I've been looking into this for a year now. Shane is a little bit more familiar with these types of plans and the globalist agenda. But a term that he's going to be talking about is this 4IR, or the fourth industrial revolution. Now, the first revolution was the agricultural revolution. The second was the manufacturing revolution. And the third, which is we're kind of still in, is the informational revolution. And now I'll let Shane explain what the fourth one is. And that's what we're coming towards today.
All right. Thanks, Tracy. So as she explained, there's been technically 3 industrial revolutions so far, with the last one being the industrial revolution of information with the internet. But now we have the 4th industrial revolution. So the 4th industrial revolution represents the sharing of data, or the selling of data, actually. So these companies want all access to all data so that they can run it through AI to fuse it all into an entire database on each person. Some of the impacts of the fourth industrial revolution are to decrease the use and ownership of personal motorized vehicles, discourage the construction and ownership of single family homes, smart buildings, roads, and outdoor areas. This includes buildings that are equipped with sensors, as well as roads and intersections that also have these sensors, and outdoor areas to track everyone's movement. They also have public private partnerships to decide policy. Another thing that's going to be part of this is something called a digital twin or digital ID, which is required to access basic city services. Another thing is the transition to all electric power and the phasing out of gasoline and combustive fuels. Another thing that they're trying to introduce is e-governance and automated city services. This is another part of the ESG, which is known as environmental social governance, but it's also been used in the context of electronic social governance. So they want to have everyone be governed socially through electronic means. And that's not just like on the macro scale, but on the micro scale. So they want to basically control every minor movement and minor decision that we make, and everything's going to be tracked along the way. But also on the macro scale, they want to introduce something called direct democracy, which is voting over the internet. Now, if you thought mail in voting was bad or electronic voting on the Diebold or Dominion machines was bad, this is going to be even worse. So it adds more layers of hackability and manipulation to the system. All right. So another thing I want to get into is the digital ID or the digital twin. So this is a digital ID that they want to have everyone to have so that they can consolidate all of our data into one accessible place. Now, these digital IDs are going to be tied to something called the central bank digital currency or CBDCs. These CBDCs are digital currencies that are on a blockchain, but it's not just a blockchain to track our finances. These are going to be blockchains that track every aspect of our data, from our movements to our preferences to our social media posts, even. And this is all going to be connected to the social credit system, the social credit score. Whereas in America, I think they're going to be calling it the human capital score. But it's just like you've seen in the United Kingdom, where people can get arrested for making a Facebook post. So within the new system, if you're speaking out against the system, then they can shut off your digital currency. They can probably turn off your electric vehicles. They can shut off your house, and they can even deny you access to basic services like buying and selling food. So they can basically cut you off from the system completely. Now, I think Christians might think this sounds familiar because in Revelation they talk about the mark of the beast, which is a mark that people would have to acquire in order to buy or sell. And anyone who is on this system is easily excluded. So they market it as inclusionary, but ultimately it's inherently exclusionary. Another thing I want to go into is the Internet of Things. Yeah, so the Internet of Things. This is an RFID. So you've probably heard of RFID tags that they want to put in various products, but they have miniaturized these to the point where they can place them, embed these RFID tags in almost any product. And so they can track the movements of goods and products, but it's not just at the point of sale, because afterwards we're going to be passing through doorways equipped with RFIDs. We're going to be passing through intersections that are equipped with RFIDs, and they're going to be tracking our every movement. And so that's just another way of Internet of Things being able to keep track of everyone. I was really excited when this first came out because I was working in a warehouse at the time, and I thought this would be a great way to keep track of our inventory, because it would automatically deduct the product from the inventory when it's selected for an order. All right, so now we also have, in addition to the Internet of Things, we have the Internet of Bio-Nano Things. So this is about using nanotechnology and biotechnology in tandem to create the Internet of Bio-Nano Things. And they want to turn the human body itself into not just a computer, but also a transmitter. Now, this is going to be done by use of wireless body area networks. So they're going to use 6G terahertz frequencies to be transmitted from and to and from the human body itself. And they're trying to create a sort of mesh network of not only devices, but of people as well. So this 6G terahertz frequencies are very short range transmissions that are going to need lots of relays and mesh networks. And so they're going to actually turn people themselves into relays or routers or mesh networks as well. Another thing I want to go into is the public-private partnerships. So we do have a video that I'm going to show about that, and her name is Joan Vion, and she's been attending meetings all over the world for several years about public-private partnerships, and we're going to watch her explain it now.
Hi, my name is Joan Vion. I'm with the Women's International Media Group, and for the last 15 years I've covered global meetings around the world, 108 to be exact. I started noticing interesting language and terminology which I didn't understand. That the document was all about something called public-private partnerships. I was pretty amazed. What? What is a public-private partnership? A public-private partnership is a way in which corporations, through a new entity called public-private partnership, take control of government assets. Public-private partnership was a concept plastered throughout the various United Nations conferences and their documents. You can call it global corporate fascism. Well, let's break down those three words. First, let's start with partnership. Partnership is a business arrangement. There are two types of partners, public and private. Public refers to government, all levels of government, local, county, state, federal, foreign, United Nations, all levels of government. That's public. Then you have private. The private partners are corporations, multinational corporations, big, powerful corporations, as well as foundations. So you have foundations, you can have universities, you can have associations, you can have the Rockefeller Foundation. And then there are non-governmental organizations, the NGOs. Most of the time you would have environmental NGOs, the Sierra Club, the Nature Conservancy, any organization that has to do with the environment, because after all, the real bottom line of a public-private partnership is to take control of the assets. Now, how do we fight it? We have to be alert. We have to be alert. We have to know what a public-private partnership is. And then we have to go to the meetings and we have to oppose it.
All right. So as you saw there, she did actually use the F word, which I know gets thrown around a lot, but technically these kind of private-public partnerships are also known as corporatism or also fascism. And I think in this case, fascism definitely applies as the accurate definition. Another thing she mentions is the transfer of government assets to corporations. One example of this that happened was in Atlanta, Georgia, where they tried to they needed a new sewer system, but residents refused to pay higher taxes to pay for it. So they came up with a quote unquote innovative solution where Boeing would come in and actually take over the project and help fund it, and they would construct a new sewer system, and they would not have to pay higher taxes as a result. However, once they came in and did that work, the customers of the sewer company actually found that their rates increased much higher than they would have if they had only paid taxes instead. So that's one example of the type of arrangement that gets made when government transfers their assets over to corporations. So now government's purpose is to serve its citizens. However, corporations, their purpose is to make a profit. And so when they transfer those assets over to corporations, it goes from being a product, a service to they go from serving the people to profiting off of the people. I think you also had an example of something similar to that in the healthcare industry.
Right. Well, something I'm very familiar with, and I think a lot of our viewers are as well, is the the partnership between Medicare and Medicaid and private insurance companies. So in 2006, they came up with this Medicare Part D, and they call it managed Medicare. So like Anthem Blue Cross, Cigna, they manage the healthcare for seniors and the disabled, as well as those that qualify for Medicaid. But Medicare was developed so that seniors and the disabled didn't have to pay for medical care. But since the partnership has been in place, now the out-of-pocket expenses for patients are astronomical. You know, it's supposed to be free for the most part, and now it's costing so much. Also, it's become so complicated. There's so many different options that it's close to impossible to understand what you're signing up for, what the costs are, what you're getting, what the services you're getting. And I think that is such a disaster, really is. And this is something that I think a lot of people have firsthand experience dealing with. So I did want to bring that's a big one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Another person I want to introduce is Dr. Joanne Romanello from the University of Tulsa at Idaho. She was a professor at the university, but now she's an activist against smart cities. And she has a video that she made that she went into a lot of detail. And she also goes over some of the buzzwords and she explains them very well. And I'm going to show it here.
Is a comprehensive framework for implementing the UN Sustainable Development Agenda. So our globalists are not very creative people. They use the same plans, they use the same patterns, they use the same images and words over and over again. So if we look at this one issue of transit-oriented development, I believe you'll have a tool with which you may use to identify and evaluate other programs. Really, if any of you have heard of it before, in short, it's a plan to take away your car and force you to use a bicycle or to walk to work, or even with controlling people who are going to be suffering economically. And it relies on digitalization and 4IR technologies, which are going to be governed by AI and deployed to automate cognitive processes, detect, predict, and respond to people's behaviors and customers' needs. So what is a smart city? This is again, from the UN. A smart city uses information and communication technologies and other means to improve quality of life, efficiency of urban operation and services, and competitiveness, while ensuring that it meets the needs of the present and future generations with respect to economic, social, and environmental aspects. So all of those devices are going to exchange data, and that will be stored in the cloud and recorded to a permanent digital ledger on blockchain. You sell it to people. You say, oh, we're going to have a 15-minute city, and it's going to be lovely. You're never going to have to leave your 15-minute zone. Extensive data collection, urban densification, stack and pack. You can see them going in all over the zones. They want to decrease travel beyond district lines. And the last two sort of merge together into you'll own nothing and be happy. So now Tulsa's not a smart city. We're in Oklahoma. We're a red state. No, we absolutely are a smart city, and that's because the new economy that is envisioned by the Sustainable Development Resetters, it is one that runs on data. Not good at first, until you realize that you're not going to be able to leave your district. So like what business, food and housing, all of these are going to be tied together through the Internet of Things, which is going to be, remember, that's the sensor network that communicates back and forth with everything and the cloud in order to do what? To give a picture of your human capital score. Okay, so that's American speak for social credit scoring. Everything that you do is going to be judged on the basis of its future economic potential. You're going to make that decision, like how to evaluate the future use of your activities. It won't be us, it will be AI.
All right. So another thing that she mentioned was the tracking of the Internet of Things, and it goes right in with what I was saying about the Internet of Bio-Nano Things and the wireless body area networks. So what they're going to do is they're going to predict human behavior, and it's based on predictive analytics, and it's very similar to the pre-crime that you may have seen in the movie called Minority Report with Tom Cruise. And it's going to be very much like that, where they're going to try to predict human behavior and predict who's going to be breaking laws and committing crimes, or maybe even who's just going to be speaking out against the system. So that's another thing to be mindful of, is that they're trying to create this dystopian future that's very much likely like we've seen in some of these sci-fi movies. All right. And another thing I want to mention too is that this isn't just taking place in third world countries, like they are also redeveloping the first world. And I think what they're trying to do is eliminate the middle class. They're trying to make it so hard to get by, or so hard to, produce enough, to live the quality of life or the standard of living that we're currently enjoying. So once they eliminate the middle class, then you'll only have, people living at or below poverty. And then you'll have the one percenters, the billionaires, the vampire class. I don't like to call them elites. I like to call them the predator class or the vampire class, because I think that's a little bit more accurate, because these people are anything but elite, if you ask me. All right. And that's all I have for today. So back to you, Tracy.
Yeah, well, I have some feedback on, this is, I think, really progressing. I don't know if it's just because I'm more aware of it, but I'm seeing examples of this all over. Just the past couple of weeks, so I'm in Southern California. I was in traffic in San Bernardino County, which is the adjacent county, and we're stuck in traffic. I forgot what the 10 or the 60. And there's actually 2 fast track lanes where if you pay, you can bypass the traffic. And there's no getting away with it, because they'll take your picture. So every so often they take a picture of your license. And actually, I was in Orange County, and I didn't mean to get on the fast track lane, but I did. And so I had 5 days to go online and pay the $3.75 because I took the fast track. But it's often hard to know if you're taking the fast track lane. But they're basically kind of incrementally charging you for using the freeways, although your taxes are supposed to be paying for infrastructure like that. So many examples that I can think of, and it's really terrifying, because again, it's going to be bankrupting the middle class unless you have a very, very high income. These things are just simply going to be too expensive, including owning a home. It's already so expensive. And if you do own a home, things like the insurance premiums going up, your utilities gone up so much, gas and electricity and water, and a lot of people pay for their trash pickup. Things that we consider public utilities are incrementally not becoming public. So I just thought of that, like how just the ownership of a home or a property is really squeezing people out of property ownership or home ownership. Even if you were fortunate enough to buy a property, the maintenance and the things, the taxes and all that have become so much more expensive in such a short period of time. In fact, a lot of California residents can't even get homeowners insurance. So if something happens to it, they're SOL. And it's really becoming a problem. But I'm glad so many people are talking about it. I saw a really good talk on valuetainment, and people are really starting to catch on. And I think everyone needs to know about this, whether you own a property or not, because this ultimately is going to kill the middle class, and you're either going to be on the very top, which is most of us are not ever going to be there, no matter how lucky we are, or we're going to be at the very bottom, struggling, paying for every little thing, every utility, every service that we take for granted is now going to be a luxury or a privilege. So that really is terrifying. And also the security state that we're going towards is going to be, it's just, we're going to have cameras with facial recognition, they're going to know every little thing you do. Also, something I was thinking about is, especially in this era, there are a lot of home break-ins. And so the majority of people, I would say, now have a Nest, N-E-S-T, which is the company that does the camera. It goes like in where your doorbell is. So if someone comes to your front door, you could access that information from wherever you are because it's online. But I have been hearing that people are getting hacked into, and it makes these break-ins even easier because they know exactly when you're not home, when it's supposed to be to make your home more secure. So actually, yeah, my perspective on a lot of these things has changed so much. Also, like Alexa, that was like the thing to have an Alexa in your home, but I think a lot of people are kind of creeped out by it, and yeah, that's no way coming into my house. But you know, I'm kind of coming aware of these things, and I just want to let as many people know, you know, what's really going on and what the end game is, because I wasn't so sure. So a lot of these presentations and the information we're going over today has really helped me. And so I hope this video has been helpful for all of you. And a lot of you are aware of these, but if you're not, I would say, you know, pay attention, find out if your city is being planned for one of these you know, TODs or whatever it is, so that you can get involved. And if there's a meeting, it's the law that you can attend that meeting and testify either for or against it. And it's been very hard to find information on these meetings. So I'm hoping that some of this information will help you guys get involved and get informed and stand up for what you believe in. So is there anything else, Shane?
I did want to add that there's some good news when it comes to fighting smart cities, because there has been a smart city that was defeated in Costa Rica in the municipality of Perez Zeledon. There was a meeting that had been taking place about smart cities, and they were supposed to allow public testimony, but they closed the doors and they kept everyone outside. Fortunately, the public there was actually very well informed, especially a blogger by the name of Dustin Bryce, who blogs for Interest of Justice. They actually helped organize protests and get people involved, and they actually served legal papers to the people at the vote. So what the police did actually is they closed the doors and they kept anyone from getting inside to submit their testimony. However, Dustin was able to actually serve the papers to a police officer who took them to the people, who gave them to the people inside. And once they read the papers, they realized they couldn't hold the vote without actually allowing public testimony. And so they canceled the vote, and a lot of local politicians who supported it actually backed down. However, there was only one exception, that being the mayor, and he's the only one who still supports this. So once they finally replace the mayor, then that'll be the final nail in the coffin for the smart city of Perez Zeledon in Costa Rica.
And coming up this November, I know the city I live in, the district I am, we're voting on a lot of these changes. So this information has helped me. For example, they're trying to repeal Prop 13, which, you know, might seem like a good thing. That is for people who are able to secure their property tax percentage at the purchase price rather than the current value. And that's going to be a huge revenue, but it's also going to force people in that area out because the property tax is going to go up so much, and it often will affect those that are working class or lower income, or those on a fixed income, older, that, you know, are no longer going to be able to afford the house that they live in. So yeah, please pay attention to the bills and the propositions that are on the ballot this year. And I hope that you will all make better informed decisions. So with that, thank you all for being here. If you're here for the live chat, thank you so much. We both really enjoy getting your feedback. So thank you all for being here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And if you have subscribed, if you could check, because I've been losing a lot of subscribers, not always because they've decided to unsubscribe, but because YouTube has decided for them. So with that, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all soon. Bye.